G'day people. Another impossible island. For some of you who've already seen my other videos, you'll know that I kind of look around for some abnormalities in things with the land and people living, because I certainly do believe some of the land has been moved. Today I'm just north of Seattle, and I found myself another impossible island. I say impossible because of its circumstances. It's a pretty good one, you know, it seems to be pretty strong point to have. And so I decided to show it to you. So we're just north of Seattle, I think maybe about an hour's worth north, and then offshore, an island called, I'll bring up Seattle there, to an island called Gumay, I believe. Gumay Island. And this island is connected to the mainland here. First thing you'll notice is there's a good dense population on the other side of here. Like, pretty damn good population, pretty dense. And the island, Gumay Island, is nowhere near as dense at all. And the distance is 1 kilometer across, maybe about 3,000 feet. Which could bring into question, why isn't there a bridge, right? You know, you're this dense over here, I'm surprised that there isn't a bridge. 1 kilometer is nothing. But anyhow, these guys got a ferry is the only means to get off and on this island. This ferry's pretty minimal. I don't know, I didn't look up how many it holds. It looks like it holds like maybe a dozen. So this island has a 2,000 statistic of, I think, 600 people. But that was, I don't know why it's only 2,000 numbers that I found right off. But 16 years later, you know, 600 people, it could easily, I was thinking right off it was maybe 1,000, but I would think then it's probably like 800 anyhow. Could be 1,000 easy. 16 years is a good chunk of time. So yeah, at first I found it kind of odd, you know. Well, all they have is a little ferry for quite a number of vehicles and homes. But then, you know, this place probably started as cabin area. The main point, and I'll get to that right now, the main point of this video, and the reason why I got this video up, the big one, is this entire island, which is, I didn't find the exact numbers for, I estimated at about anywhere from at least 10 kilometers of coastline to maybe 15 kilometers. So you could say probably at least 10 miles. Or not at least, but maybe around 10 miles. That's just a guess, a coastline. Either way, a good chunk of coastline. At least, was it at least 300 homes? The great majority of which along the coast. This coastline, I kid you not, does not have a one dock. Like, first of all, you gotta ask yourself, why are these people over here, right? It's an island, so it's either cabins, summertime, or they like to live there and they moved here for the country, for, you know, recreation purposes to coincide with their everyday life. And they're willing to pay the price of travel for that, and taking the ferry to get anywhere and whatever. Like, there's no work on this island, it's not that big. This entire island, I went around the whole coastline, not one dock. I can't even believe it, especially in areas like this, which is a little dense for my liking. It doesn't seem too natural. As well as some on the other side as the buildings, whether it be homes or cabins, or camps, whatever, almost right on the water. But it's pretty dense. So, you know, maybe this started out as smaller cabin and then some people put some real houses in, perhaps. That happens. But either way, kind of dumb for the country, right? You're going to pay to travel and you just get a little piece of property. Not real likely. There's one of very few spots you see somebody with a boat and a way, like they'd have a trailer and they have a way to get it down to the water. One of the few places where I've even seen a boat. Especially one of any size. I think that's the biggest one I've seen. Besides the ferry, of course. There's a couple of walkways down to the beach, you could call it. You know, it's a Canadian beach. kind of sand there, a lot of driftwood. Actually, a lot of this coastline has the driftwood there, as if they almost don't use it a lot. This is what you get. People with boats don't have anywhere to put them. They're out in the water, just anchored. Which I don't know, they must swim out to it or something. They got a canoe. So yeah, this whole freaking island, not one dock. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Another spot of something I found, which I found kind of odd, is, like, even, if nobody had a dock and you had basically your community dock, that would make sense. There's none. Like, how can you have an island and no freaking docks? Recreational type of place, cabins. A lot of it's based on cabins from what I was reading. But still quite a great deal of homes. There's at least 300 buildings on here. I would say at least 2/3 of them are on the shoreline. How can you not have docks? Sorry, I'm skipping along there. Looking for, there is a community beach. I'd probably be damned if oh, there it is right there. I got to this, like, I was thinking about the community dock thing. You'll find one or two spots. Actually, here's another one of very few boat launch, is what you would call it. So you just, enough so you can get your boat and trailer down into the water and drop your boat in. So there's a couple of these. Actually, I would say I don't even know. There was this one. I don't know if I found another one or not. I don't even think I did. There's, of course, the main ferry spot, which is a pretty minimal little ferry bit. But this here is considered a community beach, maybe for a little chunk corner of the island or something. It doesn't look all too used, definitely not very well maintained. All this driftwood is a lot. But I saw this, and this takes me. I'm like, that is freaking weird. Keep in mind, these are all logs. Most likely driftwood. And they're not small, they're decent logs, not huge for BC. BC got some big trees, but still, they're not little sticks. These are some decent logs, tons and tons of them all jammed into this one spot. This first stupid thing is, this is almost right behind the community beach, no one ever got together in the last, how many years did this take to build up? But the thing is I don't even understand how it built up. There is a little bit of a cove there. I know water can drive things up far in the storms, but why is it so dense here? Why don't I see other dense areas that are far up on land or something? I definitely see a bit a bit of driftwood everywhere along the way. But this is like I don't even understand how this happened. Obviously it would take a lot of years for that to build up that much. And why didn't they ever clean it out? I have a little bit of a suspicion that it might have ended up becoming that way because this could have been a lot larger area of water at one time, whether it be a lake or a big cove, and it got closed in, and it all got closed up. And the life changes. Life is nothing to fix, but the dead wood didn't go anywhere, and then it just concentrated when it closed in during, a Mandela effect moment, screwing with our freaking planet. That aside, that's just a little bit of speculation there, but I find that very suspicious. There is a resort. Of course, it isn't a real resort. Kind of comical, in fact. A moment here, get me to my north. I guess I was north. And somewhere... actually, anyway, I'm not even going to find it at the moment. I have the web page for it. It's right along here, anyhow. So basically, this is called... this is called the Gourmet Island Resort in Washington State. And they don't have, it's really an odd little, of course resorts stretching it a lot. They have this kitchen wagon, they have some cabins you can stay in, they have a recreation room, massage therapy, a sauna. Their sauna's a funny little thing. I don't mean to bash these guys. It's not a bad little thing, but basically it's a setup around what? Camping? Not really. Around the beach? You would think that's the lake or the beach area. That's the last thing left, even though it's salt water. So you go to the boats. Here's their picture for the boats. It just shows the rock land, some driftwood area. Where's their dock? There is no dock. So here's the deal. You can rent, if you're a guest, no charge. You can reserve a buoy. And if you're not a guest, it's about $35 for the night, I guess, to dock on the buoy, which I don't get. How do you get to shore? You swim from there? I don't even get it. Like, I can't even believe it. But what they have for boats is 12 and 14-foot aluminum rowboats. That's fun. You go ahead and get in a 14-foot aluminum boat, and then you'll get out to that buoy and come right back, right? It's it's just so comical. And apparently you can bring your own kayak, or they have some sort of half-ass type of kayak you can get. But yeah, that's their boating facility is buoys in the water. And again, I don't mean to bash these guys. It's not a bad little setup, very minimal costs around this business. I imagine they make a couple bucks in the summer. But it's just mind-boggling, this island, and I'm just kind of a bit of proof of it here, has no docks. Like, even, the recreation spot has no docks. That is absolutely unheard of. It's absolutely ridiculous. It all has basically the same, very close to the same amount of beach, as far as the amount of sand or rock-like sand. Unbelievable. Like, I don't believe it. I'm calling bullshit, right? Absolute bullshit. Who even built a cabin on this place without having a dock? Like, it's absolutely bullshit. It's impossible. Like, nothing's impossible such as this, but to me, it's an impossible situation to have occurred naturally. It just is. It just don't even make sense. A lot of things don't make sense, but I'm kind of trying to stick to the things that are a little more meat to it. But another example is right here. Like, I just don't really believe that you would have come and moved on this place and built like this with a decent amount of unused land around, and you come for the purpose for almost, a great deal of the outdoors people, country people, recreation people, you're going to go through the trouble taking a ferry to and from work every day or whatever, or if you're coming out here for your summertime house or cabin, you have no docks. You can spit on your neighbor's freaking place. And in these cases, like, it's just dreadful little spots, If you're a person in the city, this is gorgeous. But if you move into a place like this in Canada, like, this is stupid. What the hell are you doing? It's a waste of money. The setup is much more like that of, just country, just outside the urban areas. That's what this is. A lot of this appears more like the setup of it. It doesn't make sense. I'm calling absolute bullshit. I don't believe it. You can thank Mandela for it. There is another, like, look at the city over here, right? Decent sized place. Why didn't this ever get, a little more used? It's not as strong as an argument, but it does look a little out of place. Considering that's only 1 kilometer, that's not much at all. I can't argue really strong that there should be a bridge there, but yeah, likely you would think that short distance and some nice land like that, when land over here obviously was holding some decent value, but not for sure. Another island here, St. Clair, not a dock on it again. There's one dugout. It's not populated by any means. It looks like maybe a handful of cabin areas. And the only way on or off as far as docking goes, and the only thing goes, is somebody has a dugout here, which isn't bad. But that's the only means. Anyway, guys, again, another impossible situation as far as I'm concerned. Take care. Peace.